Hey book lovers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mar, and as you can see beside me, I have a stack of books beside me on my TBR card. And so for this video, we're not going to be tackling any of those books because 3 books on my most anticipated releases list have arrived, are here now, released this week, or close to this week. And so for this video, I thought we would be tackling those 3 books as that's just simply what I want to read. And so when will we address this large stack of books plus this entire TBR card? Later in the future. Now, it is only getting to the end of May. We have June, and then it is the second half of the year. So we definitely still have time to read the stack of books beside me. And sometimes that's all you need. But anyways, let's hop straight into this video. And if you watch the end of this video and I'm look the exact same as I am now, it is because I forgot to film an intro for this video. I kind of just hop straight into it. But yeah, for this week, we are going to be reading my most anticipated releases for the year. And yeah, hear my thoughts on them. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. I guess everyone is taking their lunch break at the same time as me, because I swear, when I arrived here, like at the bookstore, this parking lot was empty. And now all of a sudden, the parking lot is full, and I don't know really what's going on a Tuesday afternoon at like 12:40. I decided to come to the bookstore because it is new release Tuesday. If you've been watching my other vlogs, you might have been like, aren't you on a book buying ban? Well, yes, I am. But today, one of my most anticipated releases has been released, and so I obviously had to get it, and that is Fury Bound by Sable Sorensen. Everything I've been hearing about this book is that it is so much better than Bound, which I don't know how that's possible when Bound is literally a 5-star read in my eyes. And so I'm so excited for Fury Bound. I didn't even realize it was being released like today. Like I knew it was gonna be like sometime in May, but I really didn't check like the date until yesterday when I was like, oh, like today is like one of the rare days where I'm working from home, and it just so happened to be that while I'm working from home, my most anticipated release is released. And so I didn't even plan that. I didn't even know when this was being released, and so I'm so excited to get started on this. I'm literally so excited. Look at that artwork. And yeah, I'm so excited to start reading this. And then while I was at the bookstore, it turns out that there were more new releases as well that I wasn't aware of. The first one being the special edition of Always and Forever, Lara Jean, by Jenny Han. So this is the last book in the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy, and obviously I have the previous 2, so I had to complete the series, and I knew it was going to be in this purple color. Like it felt like the vibe. And then it turns out they also released a graphic novel version of the book, and so this one is more true, I would say, to the book series than the adaptation of the books and all that. So this one follows more of like the plot lines in the book, and yeah, it's so cute and it's so me coded, and so I had to put this on the To All the Boys I've Loved Before shelf. And so yeah, this is what I quickly did on my break, and now I have to go in and really lock into work. I'm gonna spend the rest of the night reading my book, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So yeah, let's head home, lock into work, and then we are going to get started on this reading vlog. It is almost 9 o'clock now, and I have been pretty much working, cleaning, showering, editing like this entire day. And so now I finally have time to start Fury Bound by Sable Sorensen, and I'm so excited, you guys. I'm so excited. I have been waiting for this moment all day, and so for the rest of the night, I think I'm just gonna sit here and read because I want to film some aesthetic B-roll. You're probably not gonna get this from me because I am simply too gooped and gagged to start this. Like, look at this. Oh, she's so thick. It's gonna take me probably a week to get through this, but you know what? It's okay. We are dropping everything we are reading right now to read this new release because this is a monumental moment, and I hope you are celebrating this with me. Let's get started. So as you can currently see, I am probably around 40% of the way through this book now, and let me tell you, the twists are twisting and the turns are turning. I would say for Fury Bound, this one didn't hook me as much as Dire Bound did when I first started reading, but now we've gotten to the point where the plot is starting to get juicier and juicier, and it's starting to pick up, and things are happening that I was not expecting it to happen, and all of that. And so for the most part, I've been enjoying my reading so far. I've been reading I would say maybe 4 or 5 chapters every night, and so I'm getting through this book slowly. Dire Bound I read in a few hours or in a night or whatever. This one I'm taking my time with. I know that a lot of people compare Dire Bound to Fourth Wing because just between those two books, the plot structure is very similar, the concepts are very similar, the characters are kind of reminiscent of each other, but I would say Dire Bound does everything that Fourth Wing does, but better. Dire Bound to me is all of the good parts of Fourth Wing, and I would say Fury Bound is not like Iron Flame at all, but at the same time it takes all of the better parts of Iron Flame, if that makes sense, and it's encapsulated in this book, if that makes sense. Not that the plots or anything or whatever are similar at all, but I think it's just a lot of things are very reminiscent of Fourth Wing, and this is the last time I will mention Fourth Wing in this video. But at the same time, I just prefer this series a lot better because we just get straight into the plot, the things that are happening, the tension, the emotional things that are happening between characters. And I would say my biggest pet peeve with the Empyrean series or whatever, the Fourth Wing series, is that we spend so much time on the angstiness and the characters' personal turmoils within themselves that we don't progress into the plot that much. And so we're kind of just stuck in this loop of like Violet Sorrengail is just crashing out time after time again because she's lying to her friends, and she's literally not doing anything to help that whatsoever. Whereas with Marin, I like that she doesn't like spiral over things that much. Like obviously when traumatic things happen to her, it sticks with her, but she moves. Like, she knows we have to keep going to the next chapter. And so that's what I really like about Fury Bound. There, again, have been tons of twists and turns. Some that I agree with, others that I'm just kind of like, why the fuck did this happen? But, you know, we live and we learn and we continue to read. But I would say Marin is everything that Violet Sorrengail is not, and Stark is everything Xaden Ryerson is not. So I feel like there's always like so many like comparisons to like those characters from like the Direbound characters, but I would say Marin is much more likable than Violet, and Stark is much more likable than Xaden. Is that an unpopular opinion? Maybe, but also like my rating for like the 4th Wing series has been going down, so I think with Fury Bound we can go down, but I think it's pretty consistent. Like for me, it's pretty flat. Like it's probably gonna be a 5 stars unless some crazy shit happens that I disagree with. But yeah, I'm almost like, I'm currently 40% of the way through. I'm almost at 50%, and for the most part I have really liked this so far. I also like that there are enough characters in this. You know, there's definitely a lot more new characters in this book, but they don't hinder the plot at all. Like if anything, they've seamlessly kind of just made their way into the plot, and it's understandable, unlike a certain series where there's literally a new character every 2 pages of a book, and then they get killed off after 5 pages. What book could that be? I don't know. But yeah, those are my current initial thoughts on Fury Bound right now. And so yeah, I'm gonna continue reading this week, and then I will give you my update in a bit. I know I said I was going to update you guys when I read more Fury Bound, but these just arrived at my doorstep today, and so these are the special editions of the Naturals, and I'm so excited I got these because if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that the Naturals is one of my favorite book series of like all time, and so I obviously have the special edition of the Naturals already, but they just released the other 3 books in the series in the special edition covers, and so I thought this would be a good time to just clean this bookshelf, because I don't think I actually like really cleaned this until I did my last bookshelf organization tour, which is when I got this bookshelf obviously. And so yeah, I just wanted to do a quick little bookshelf clean and all of that while we try to find room to fit these bad babies onto the shelf, because I would say the shelf is like a mix between my favorite books and just like special editions I have. Like this is where I get to really display everything in my room and all of that. I decided to do this at 9 p.m. at night, and so I think while I do this I am going to listen to another, not necessarily like, this isn't really like a newly anticipated release for me, just because I truly didn't know that this book was being released at all, but I did use my Audible credit for it, and that is First and Forever by Lynn Painter. And what I've noticed the past few like months is that like I've been paying for Audible obviously, and I have a lot of like, I've been using Audible for the past few years now, and this is not an ad by the way, but pretty much I don't really spend my credits on a lot of books on Audible. Really the only ones I spend my credits on, it's either books that I have read before and I really like the audiobooks, or new releases, or just like longer books and all that. And so I haven't really been using my Audible that much, just because I've been using my Libby a lot more, because they just have a big catalog where I'm from, and usually I can access like those books pretty like easily and all that. First and Forever, there was a really long line for holds for Libby and all of that, and so I just decided to get it on Audible just because I had the extra credits to do so. I really like the narrators for this for this audiobook as well. They did these are the same audiobook narrators that did Fake Skating, which I would say that one is probably my favorite Lynn Painter novel. I don't know, Fake Skating was just like a fun, cutesy little romance book, and so yeah, but this one is more sports romance, and I believe this one is adult, where Fake Skating was young adult, and so there's more swearing. I think there's a bit more, I don't know if it's like smutty or anything. I don't think Lynn Painter really does smut, but I do think there is a bit more adult content in this one. But yeah, I think I'm going to listen to this audiobook while I rearrange and clean my bookshelf and all of that on this side. I have another bookshelf as well, and I have 2 bookshelves in my other room plus my TBR cart, but that we will tackle another day, because once I read more books, I am definitely gonna have to redo all of my shelves. But again, this one is just like my favorite books and all of that. So yeah, let's get to reading and reorganizing this bookshelf behind me. It is the next day, and last night I ended up listening to a little bit of First and Forever by Lynn Painter, and I decided to clean a bit this morning, and so I also started listening to that audiobook. And if you're looking for an audiobook to just listen to, like while you're doing like mundane tasks like chores, walking, whatever, I would suggest that one, because it is a very easy book to listen to and to read and all of that. And so I'll probably get into more of what that book is about when I do my review of it. But yeah, last night I ended up picking up Fury Bound again, and I made it to 50% of the way through this book. And I think today we're just going to continue this momentum of reading. I pretty much cleared my schedule this day so I could pick up my books and read. So I'm going to try to finish this book today. Maybe finish the Lynn Painter one if I have some chores or things to do, and then I might pick up another book. There's tons of books on my TBR that I want to get started on and all of that, and so we'll see as the day goes on and see if I want to read or not. Without further ado, I think we should just get straight into reading again. But momentum is definitely picking up in this book, and so I'm excited to see what the next or the last 50% of this book has in store for me. Okay. no. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I've made it to 75% of this book, and I have no idea what's going on, but I'm kind of obsessed. Like, I would say that this book is very different from the first book, and so I personally like this one a bit more just because there's a bit more, like, original plot to it, I would say, compared to the first book. The first book definitely felt very, like, just general romantasy book. This one, I would say the plot is a bit more interesting than the actual romance itself. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but anyways, I'm at chapter 48 right now, and a lot of stuff is happening, and I feel like I'm being gaslighted right now. Like, that is really how I feel. I'm reading this book right now because I don't really know what the deal is. Like, I don't know what we're doing, where we are, what's happening, and not gonna lie, I'm kind of obsessed with that. And so, yeah, we're just gonna continue reading, and I'm probably going to finish this book in the next hour or two, and then we'll get to doing some things, more things, and then I think we'll get onto the next book I want to read for this video. But overall, I'm eating this up. I think I was like, but either way, I'm eating this up, and I'm gonna try to record as many reactions as I can, but really, I'm just absorbed in this world right now, and I really don't know what's going on. What? Stop. 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 I have thoughts. I have thoughts. I have thoughts. Anyway, I'm at chapter 55 right now, so we have quite a bit to get. Actually, not that much. This much left of the book. But just so you know, at this point in this moment, I am pissed off. Just letting that be known now. Oh? Stop.
What? Absolutely not. No. No. I won't accept.
I just finished reading Fury Bound by Sable Sorensen, and if you could tell by my reaction to the end, I am gagged. I am in shock, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series. I feel like this is going to be a trilogy, but I feel like it could extend to a 4 or 5 book series depending on what the authors want to focus on in the next book of the series. But my jaw is on the floor right now. I think I'm going to sit on my thoughts about this. I already know what I'm going to rate it, but I'm going to sit on my thoughts about this so I can give you an eloquent rating and review of this book. But for the most part, I am shocked by this book, and I literally cannot wait to get my hands on this next book. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts so far after finishing this book. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to do my laundry, clean my bathroom, and then I'll give you a quick review of Fury Bound. But I am in shock right now. So, after taking a break and thinking about this book some more, I have my official rating and review for this book. And so, let's get straight into it. I give this book a 5 stars simply because I liked it as much as I liked the first one. And I feel like this book is going to be a bit polarizing depending on like what aspects of the first book you like compared to others. And so, yeah, let's hop straight into it. If you don't know what the Wolves of Ruin series is about, pretty much in the first book, we follow the main character whose name is Maren Cooper. And pretty much she lives in sort of like the slums. She ends up enlisting in the army that is in this world and all of that in order to save her sister who has been kidnapped and all of that. And she's trying to figure out a way to save her and all that. So she's just like, the easiest way for me to save my sister is to go to the front lines and face the enemies who I believe are the ones that kidnapped her. While she ends up going to like the army, she has to kind of go through these trials first. While she's going through these trials, she realizes that this specific year it is the Direbound trials, which is like at the end of the trials, if they make it that far, they pretty much end up having a chance to be bound to a dire wolf. And so it's very reminiscent of Fourth Wing in that sense. And so Maren ends up getting bound to a dire wolf and all of that. And pretty much the first book, she's kind of navigating that relationship between her dire wolf while attending the academy of, I don't know what, pretty much like this direwolf academy where they pretty much learn how to bond with their direwolves and, you know, train for the battlefield and all of that. And so the first book kind of navigates Maren as a character and her discovering a lot of different secrets about this world and different secrets about her heritage. And then after the craziest cliffhanger you get in the first book, you move on to the second book. And so this one, I would say, is a bit more plot heavy than character heavy and romance heavy, if that makes sense. If you like the first book for more of like the academy type of schooling aspect, I don't think, or academy schooling like trials type of aspect, I don't think you're gonna like this book in particular, just because this one more so evolves into the next part of the plot and the next secrets we're trying to uncover and unfold and all of that. And so if you like the first book more so for like the tension and that, you know, setting of, you know, students being at this academy and learning about their direwolves, I don't think that you would like this book as much compared to the first one. I say the first one focuses a lot more on Maren as a main character and her forming friendships with people. I would say this one is more so about her trying to uncover a lot of secrets. secrets that she's trying to address and all of that, and more so of the politics of this world and all of that. I would say that is what this book focuses on. And so to me, I thought the plot was a bit slower at the beginning, but then it started to pick up a lot more as we got into it. And yeah, one thing about characters is now this is also dual point of view, so it is from the point of views of Meryn and Stark, who is the male main character and who is very much like another shadow daddy, if you will. I didn't mind both of like their point of views and all that, but I really hope for the next book we get more character point of views, because I think what this book did in particular is that I formed a connection with a lot of the side characters compared to the main characters of this book. Not to say that the main characters were bad or anything. It was just like you spend so much time with the main characters. I was like, you guys are starting to get a little bit old. I'm looking to see more interesting things. And so the side characters of this book, I really want to dive into a lot more, especially the one of my favorite characters in this book. She goes through it. She goes through it a ton. She could not catch a break the entire book. And if you know, you know if you've read this, but she literally could not catch a break. And to the very end, she is in the trenches. And so, please, in the next book, let's explore her character more. Let's get her out of the trenches, because, we cannot be doing this character dirty like that, because she is my favorite character. Overall, I really liked the more so fantasy elements of this book and the twists and turns we got from the plot. There were some that obviously I was kind of like, okay, this feels very romantasy, tropey, but at the same time, I felt like there were a lot more original twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. I feel like the first book, it was so similar to Fourth Wing that I was just like, okay, this is just the formula to a romantasy book, and I eat it up every time. Where this one, it didn't feel as romantasy heavy. It definitely felt like it was leaning more into the fantasy elements and a little bit less romance. Not to say that you don't get any romance. It's just, for me, I personally just didn't care as much when we got to the romance chapters. I was like, okay, we're picking up on something super interesting in the plot. Let's get to it. I want to see how this pans out. And so, yeah, those are my thoughts on Fury Bound. I like the characters. I like the fantasy elements. I like the mysteries we had. And yeah, the next book, I really just want us to explore a lot more of the characters, a lot more what's going on and all of that. And I feel like there were a lot of things in this book that got wrapped up very quickly, which I feel like there should be some repercussions happening as the next book comes in. But yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a 3-book series or a 5-book series. I can see it being a 3-book series, but I'm not so sure, because there's so many loose ends to this book that I feel like need to be addressed in the next book, and I feel like there just might not be a lot of room in the next book to address them. But again, I don't know. I would say this one definitely met my expectations. I don't think it exceeded it, but it did meet it, because I was expecting this going into it to be a 5 stars, and it was a 5 stars. And yeah, but I think this one felt a bit less angsty to me, but that could be an unpopular opinion. I don't know. Maybe I just understand Meryn on a certain level now, that I'm like, okay, I understand what you're putting down, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand what she's putting down, but that's okay. Only you and me, Meryn. It's us against the world. Those are my thoughts on Fury Bound. 5 out of 5 stars, in my opinion. I can't wait to read the next book, and yeah, let's move on to what we are reading next in this video. While I've been sort of doing chores around my house and all of that, I have continued to listen to First and Forever by Lynn Painter, and so I am at 56% of the way through this book so far. And overall, I feel like it's cute. It's really I don't mind it. I would say it's good, and I think it's cute. I like the characters. Actually, I kind of beef with the main character's name, but other than that, I see where Lynn Painter is going in this book, but at the same time, I feel like there needs to be a little bit more conflict, and I already know what the conflict is going to be by the end of it. I'm a bit more than halfway now, and so I think I'm just going to continue to sort of start and stop this book as I continue on with my weekend and all of that. For the next book I'm going to be reading for this video, since we are doing my most anticipated releases, I'm going to be reading Infinite Shores by Pascale Lacelle, and so I am a big fan of this series, actually. I don't know if I vlogged myself reading Curious Tides, but this is part of the Curious Tides series. I don't really know what the name of this series is, but the first book is called Curious Tides, the second one is Stranger Skies, and so the last book in this series is called Infinite Shores. And pretty much this is a YA dark academia fantasy book series. I read the first book a few years ago in the fall, and I became obsessed with it because it was just like the perfect type of fall read, fantasy read that I got into, and I feel like it's not a popular series, or it's popular in my books. But yeah, this is the last book in the trilogy, I believe, and so I'm really excited to read this. Do I remember what happens in the previous book? I remember bits and pieces, but I don't know, I might have to do a refresher about what happened in the previous two books, but all I know is like this one, there's so much stuff that happens, but it gives me like a cozy feel, but like not a cozy feel as well. Like it's just very eerie, but also like it just feels like a fall book. Why am I reading this in spring going into summer? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's still snowing where I live. It is literally mid-May, almost the end of May, and we just had a snowstorm. Anyways, I think this is going to be my next read. I'm gonna get started on this in a bit, and I'll update you my thoughts as we get into reading this book. It is almost 10 o'clock, and I have gotten to 75% of the way through First and Forever by Lynn Painter, and I feel like if I wasn't listening to the audiobook, I don't know how I would feel about like reading the physical book and all of that. I feel like this wouldn't really be like my type of book when it like comes to reading it. I think the delivery of everything is a lot better and it works better in audiobook form, and I don't have to like think that much when I'm listening to it. I feel like this is a very like, I wouldn't say this is her strongest book, but I still have like quite a bit left. I can give more of my fuller thoughts by the time I finish this. I ended up starting Infinite Shores by Pascale Lacelle, and I didn't really film myself reading this simply because for the first like 100 pages of this, I was trying to remember what happened in the first two books. Not my best moment, but I do remember like bits and pieces of the previous books, and so now it's starting to pick up again, and I'm starting to remember what happens, which is good. And also there's a time travel element to this book, so that kind of helps as well. I'm like, oh, we're back in this plot. Love, okay. But yeah, I think for the next few hours, I'm going to try and crack into this as much as I can. And for the most part, it's been a pretty easy read. The font in this is also like huge, if you can see. But yeah, the font is pretty big, and it's, I believe, about 600 pages or so. And yeah, so I'm just making my way through this. Now I'm starting to get into the plot again. Some characters I'm still kind of like, who are you? But overall, yeah, that is where we are so far. And also, yeah, I took a shower, I did my hair. I finally figured out how to do mermaid waves on my hair. Not to say that I don't already have natural mermaid waves, which I do, but I was too lazy to style it like that, so I figured out a different way to style it. But yeah, we are going to continue reading Infinite Shores, and I'll update my thoughts in the next bit. So I just finished listening to First and Forever by Lynn Painter on Audible, and I already have my rating and review for this book already, mostly just probably due to the fact that I've been listening to it just like on and off, and so I've had time to like sit in between chapters to figure out how I think about this book and all that. So let's get into the rating and review for this. I rated this a 3.5 stars in that I feel like with Lynn Painter, like adult romances and all of that, I tend to not like really gravitate towards them. And it's mostly due to the fact that I like the concepts of each of the book that she has, but I feel like a lot of the times the plot and the characters fall very flat, and I don't really know why that is, but I feel like with a lot of her more YA romances and all of that, there's just more to them. There's more like bite to them. There's a little bit more angst to them, and there's more conflict that the characters kind of have to navigate. And I really like the personalities and like the different kind of situations the characters get in her YA romances. Meanwhile, for this one, it just felt very safe and it felt very, like any other typical like romance book that you could read. And so, I don't know, there's just something in there like that. It was good, don't get me wrong. Like the book itself was good, but it just felt like there could have been more. Let's tackle plot, characters, and all that. So pretty much the plot of this book, it is told from the point of views of two different characters. And so the first character is a girl named Duffy, who, mind you, a star was taken off because her name is Duffy. Like, girl, you are 24. At that point, change your name. Change your name. Why are you named Duffy? First off, there's no explanation also as to why she's named Duffy. It's pretty much about the female character Duffy, who is this 24-year-old girl. She's moved back in at home with her dad to take care of him because he's going through some health issues, and she's an accountant. But the main kind of personality trait she has is that her and her family are the big fans of their hometown football team, the Coyotes, and all of that. And so, pretty much, she has ended up in this PR disaster because she tackled like their home team's foot or their home football team's mascot and all of that. And there's a bigger story as to why she did that and all of that. But yeah, right now she is not really in the greatest PR spotlight because of this situation. And so she like can't go to football games or really like walk outside her house without like getting booed and all of that because she's like this viral like phenomenon that has gone wild and all of that. Meanwhile, the main guy is named Connor Cunningham, and he is like the star quarterback of the Coyotes football team and all of that. And so him and Duffy end up on this show together, or their like hometown morning show or something like that. And pretty much they're trying to address this big PR situation surrounding the Coyotes, like football team and all of that. And so pretty much when they go on the show together, they have this very like fun and good dynamic with each other, and pretty much it leads to Connor asking Duffy out on a date. And so, yeah, the whole book is really just about those two kind of falling in love, going on a date, and all of that. And obviously, there's like other situations that pop up in the meantime, but it's like very surface level, I would say. Like, that is the main plot, and I feel like you can probably guess what the end of the book is based off of that information. And so, yeah, for me, I just thought the plot was a bit flat for this book. Like, I felt like there were a lot of things that could have been, played around with a lot more, but I felt like we were just reading these two characters go on dates the entire book. So it would be like, going on a date, going on another date, going on another date, going on another date, and then by the time you get to like the very end, that's when the conflict comes in, and it only stays a conflict for maybe like 2 seconds, and then we're back to square one. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're looking for just like a cute little sports romance to read, I would suggest this one. But then again, the sports
are very hit or miss. Like, I feel like there's definitely, like, sports references and all that, but, like, we don't talk about the actual sport of football a lot other than, like, Duffy being a fan of, like, going to the games, and then the main character, like, and then Connor being on the football team, but even then, like, there's not a lot of chapters where he's, like, playing football or anything. So yeah, and I feel like when it comes to, now we're just moving on to characters, but I feel like when it comes to the characters are also very flat. Like, you don't learn much about Connor at all. Like, with Duffy, you learn more about her family and kind of like the situation her family's in, but even with her, she's kind of like a flat character who doesn't really like learn that much like throughout the book. And then with Connor, you don't learn that much about him at all. Like, it is very much just like told to you through like simple like phrases of dialogue, and then they move on from that. And so, like, I felt like we should have learned a lot more about Connor. We should have learned more about this football team and all that, but we just didn't. We kind of just glossed it over, and it was mainly just like about the two main characters going on dates, which is fine. But at the same time, I just expected more from this book, and there wasn't a lot. And so, yeah, those are my initial thoughts on First and Forever by Lynn Painter. I definitely think her young adult romances are better, and if you're looking for a more so sports romance vibe, I would say Better Than the Movies has some sports involved. I believe the main guy is on the baseball team. And then Fake Skating, which is my favorite Lynn Painter romance, that one is about hockey, and so I definitely like that one a lot better. And the narrators are the same for Fake Skating and for this one, and so I really like the audiobook narrators. I think that if I didn't listen to this book on audiobook, I would probably rate it lower. But because they're so like charming, I would say, I think both of them like are very charming people. When I listen audiobook wise, I'm like, oh, this is fun, this is cutesy and all of that. And so yeah, those are my initial thoughts on First and Forever by Lynn Painter. I would say like it's a fun book to listen to while you're like doing chores and all that, because really it does not take a lot of brain power to understand the plot and all of that. And so yeah, but I think for the rest of the night, I'm going to read Infinite Shores by Pascale Lacelle. And yeah, I ended up getting to about 30% of the way through the book last night. And so I think I'm going to just continue reading and let you know my thoughts when I want to.
It is currently 7 p.m. right now, and we are locking into this book. I made it to page 283, and so we're almost at halfway into this book right now, and I'm hoping to finish it by the end of the day. Will we be able to do it? I don't know, but we are locking into this now. So I made it to part 3 of Infinite Shores, and so I believe this book is split into about 5 parts, and so the next few parts are a lot shorter, but I do have thoughts on this book so far, but I want to get through reading this first before I share any reviews of what I think this book is so far. But overall, I am enjoying it. It's just I need my like full focus to be on this book, and so that's why I have not really picked up to vlog or anything like that. And so yeah, I'm just gonna continue to lock in to this book, and then I'll give you an update probably
once I get near the end.
So I made it to part 4 of Infinite Shores, and so I only have maybe like 150 pages left of this book, but I think I'm going to take a break from this and finish this tomorrow morning, because this book, not gonna lie, it's kind of unhinged, and my brain can only handle so much this book is throwing at me. Like, not to say that, like, being unhinged is bad. Like, first off, I'm unhinged, so I love reading unhinged things, but this is, like, a bit too much for me, in that I'm getting so much information thrown at me and I need to digest it, because I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is going on in the House of Commons, actually? And so, yeah, but as you can tell, I have this much left in the book, and so far it's been a pretty fast read, and it's been, like, an engaging read, but yeah, so much information has been thrown at me that I'm, like, sitting here like, okay, we gotta back it up, we gotta back her up, and we gotta digest. And so, yeah, we'll pick this up tomorrow and finish it tomorrow, and then I'll give you my rating and review of it. But yeah, I honestly don't even know what I'm gonna rate this, but that's where we are in this reading journey so far. Sorry if I look a bit crazy, but I just woke up maybe like an hour ago, and so it is almost 11 o'clock right now, and we are going to finish Infinite Shores. I'm going to log in and get this done, get this out of the way. So I sat with my thoughts on how I wanted to rate and review Infinite Shores by Pascale Lacelle, and so yeah, let's hop right into the book review. Overall, I gave this a 4.25 stars, and this is just coming from someone who loved the first book. The second book kind of threw me in for a loop, and then this third book, I would say, is more so of a mix of like the first two books, but also like very different in itself, and I think that there's many reasons why. So let's just hop into plot and all of that. I believe this is called the Drowned Gods trilogy, but this trilogy starts off as more of like a dark academia school academy based story, in that we're following 4 characters who goes to this school called Aldrin College. The whole like world building is based off of them being placed into different houses based off of the different powers they have, and they get these powers or these special talents based off of when they're born and when the moon phases are when they're born. So if you are into like the different moon phases and like the lunar calendar and all of that, this is definitely the series for you, because it really dives into kind of like this world building of like what if people had powers based off of when their moon, like what the moon was at the time. There's things that happen in this college or this academy, and it ends up being like a very big mystery, and some of these students are trying to figure out kind of how to address kind of like the mysteries happening at the school. And I literally cannot tell you like more specific plot points to that, because by the time you go from the first book to the second book, it starts to change. And I think that's where I was kind of thrown into a loop, especially in this book, because reading this book felt like, you know how like
if you're watching a show or whatever that has multiple seasons and pretty much you're a big follower of the show, you watch the first season, you watch the second season, but there's this long gap between the second and third season, and you just end up forgetting kind of what happens in the second season, and you're just like, I don't have time to do a rewatch, so I'm just gonna hop straight into this new third season. That's what it felt like. It felt like I jumped into a new season of a show and I was just lost at the beginning. I was like, who are any of these characters? Literally, what happened in the first season, in the second season? And there was definitely no way that I was going to reread the series or the previous two books just simply because these are 500-page books. And I was like, I do not have time for that. I do not have time for that. And so I jumped into this book. And so for the first maybe 100 pages, I was just utterly confused the entire time reading it. I was like, where are we in the plot? What is happening? Where did these characters come from and all that? But then by the time we got kind of into the book, I was like, oh, okay, like things were starting to come back to me and all that, but it just felt like I like hopped into a random season of a TV show and there were all of these characters established that I was like, I truly do not remember you and what you did last season, but here we are. And so, yeah, it's like this book, I would say, is the most fantasy out of all of the three books. I would say like this whole series is dark academia fantasy, but I would say the first book dives into more of the dark academia genre with a little mix of fantasy. The second book I would say is a even split between dark academia and fantasy, and I would say this one is definitely more fantasy with a hint of dark academia. And so depending on like what you like better, I feel like you'll either really like the beginning of the series or you'll really like the end of the series. I personally still think the first book is the best, and I think it's just because it evoked like so many like feels and like emotions. Like it really transported me into the environment and like the setting that we were in. Whereas like with these ones, I felt like we're very plot based, and the plot gets more and more unhinged as you go into the books, if that makes sense. Like there were some moments in here where I was kind of like, I have no idea what is happening, what I'm reading right now, but here we are, and I'm kind of loving it, but it also feels like a fever dream. Like that was my initial thought process just reading this entire plot, and that like I understand where we are, but at the same time I feel like I'm also floating in this void of just like, why is so much information being thrown at me right now and all of that. And so yeah, that is all, those are all the notes I have when it comes to plots. As for characters, I think each of the characters goes through an insane character arc between all three books, and I think some characters definitely grow more than others, and I can definitely tell which of the author's characters are her favorites compared to others. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the characters are very strong, and by the end of it, you come to care for like pretty much all of them. And so, yeah, but at the same time, so much is happening with the plot that I felt like a lot of things were like rushed when it came to some character arcs. And, you know, I thought some things would play out in a lot bigger fashion than what we're told or what's shown. And so, yeah, but overall, I had a fun time reading this series, and this is definitely a series that I would reread and all of that. And so, not anytime soon, but it would be on my docket to reread and just like see how much like the first book foreshadows what's going to happen in the next books and all of that. And I think that the world building in here is super strong. Like the world building itself is great. And I think that like, especially in these books, the more so secondary characters get a bit more of a chance to shine. And I actually wish we got like a prequel book of the secondary characters, because I felt like there were just a lot of things that were kind of just like explained really quickly via like dialogue or whatever, and it wasn't really shown to us. And so I kind of wish we got more of that, or maybe just because also like I don't remember the first two books, maybe it was told to us and I just completely forgot. But either way, I think there's just like so much information in these books that you have to download in your brain, and if your brain's just not in it, then you're gonna be completely lost. And I think that's completely fine. Like for me, I like books that have that level and that depth of world building. And so, yeah, I feel like this series, though, is like, it's a very subjective series, and that like I feel like you're either gonna like it or you're not gonna like it. But yeah, that is Infinite Shores by Pascale Lacelle, and I feel like a lot of people also don't talk about this series. I feel like this is a very like Quiet series, and it is also Canadian, and so I gotta support my Canadian authors. But yeah, that is my book review of Infinite Shores. I gave this a 4.25 stars. And again, the first book is a 5 stars to me. The second book is a 4 stars. And so I had to kind of find a little bit of a middle. I was leaning a bit more toward the 4 stars just because, or the lower end, just because it just didn't really give 5-star energy to me. But if I did do a reread, maybe that would change my mind, just knowing more information going into this one. But yeah, those are all my thoughts on Infinite Shores. So with that being said, I think I am going to end this video here. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far, and let me know if any of these books are on your anticipated release list or whatever. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!